I've been on social media for years. Let's start there. I was posted twice in 1 year on the Shade Room. I'm not going to say they weren't growing, but it was like as I was growing, they made it seem like I was trying to be better than them when I was just trying to better my own life with that. But for the most part, like I had to like learn on my own. Like I had to figure out like, okay, how do I do this until she came along. We got to work on that. You know, we are now in 2025. Now it's time to just do. If you're gonna be scared, do it scared.
Welcome to the Healing Manifest podcast, where we focus on the 4 pillars of life: financial, spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. Today, we have an amazing guest here today. He is a fashion and marketing influencer. He is known for his very viral videos where he makes outfits out of everything. I'm talking from the colors of Pokemon, colors of gas stations, colors of different stores in Jamaican food, which I love very much myself. He's also appeared on Breakfast Television and Complex Con. Please welcome my guest here for today, Jalen Lick My Fashion Nelson.
Hey guys, hey y'all. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I had to literally fill out this hat because I picked it up from you actually. I seen you with it and I was like, ooh,
Yes.
this is a nice little touch here.
Yeah, I love me some top hats. So like actually one of my favorite things to wear. And thank you for having me on the podcast. I love podcasts and I love to just speak and have a good time. So yeah, let's get into it.
And honestly, I think there's so much that when I see you and just literally just what you've built for yourself, so much great things to talk about. I want to start though with your journey to becoming an influencer. Like,
Yeah.
walk us through like what it was like making your first video, what you were thinking when you were starting it.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I've been on social media for years. Let's start there. I've been on social media for years. I really started taking it seriously in 2020, where I just quit my job. So I was working a retail job for so long. And then I said, you know what, during the pandemic, I am going to, really figure this out. Because, during that time, everybody was, either getting fired, things were happening. So I said, let me figure this out. And, I was a stylist before. So all the stores were closed. And I said, okay, well, Jalen, what can we do next? Because you can't really style nobody right now. And I said, okay, you know what? I do have a tripod and I do got a phone. So let's see if we can, create some content. And I did just that. So I just really, honestly, I was living at my grandma's at the time and I just had a tripod and a phone and I just started recording. And, as I kept recording, the videos got better. And then from there, like, that's really what took me off. Like during the pandemic is what actually like led me to get like a bunch of followers. That's when the creativity really started to set with like the, inspired outfits by like, Jamaican food, gas stations, candy, chocolate. And yeah, I just really just wanted to, really express myself through that because I didn't know how else to do it because fashion is like my safe haven. So I did that and it just honestly took off. Like I didn't expect it to take off the way it did.
Yeah.
But it definitely took off. Yeah, I just became, really financially, like really, really comfortable. Made my first 6 figures in the first year of content creation. Was able to move out, get a car. Like it was just like a 180. Like it just went from not really having funds in the account to like that. So, and it all came with consistency. I don't think I was looking more for like, okay, yes, I wanted to make money as a full-time creator, but I was more so looking at like, how can I get the audience to like interact with me? And then from there, it just catapulted. So, yeah.
What I wonder is like, so I think there's always that point of like making content where it's like, okay, like, I don't know what's going to happen here. It's where you're like, okay, this is really doing something. Like,
Right.
do you remember like if it was like a specific video that you had where you're like, okay, this is happening? Or just one day you looked at your following and you're like, okay, this is picking up here.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that question. So I remember when I started doing this in 2021, like January, I started to like do the inspired outfits, flags and things like that. And there was a specific comment and shout out to that person because I don't even know who she was, but she definitely said in the comments, she was like, Jalen, I really like the direction your brand is going. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep it up then because I don't know, that comment, that one comment, it was like all the other comments were like, oh my God, I love this. But then her comment specifically was like, I really like this direction. Keep going in this direction.
It sounds actually like really respected what you did as a brand itself.
Yes.
Saw that.
Yeah. So I really resonated with that comment and I said, okay, I'm going to keep going in this direction. And I think that was one of the comments that like led me to keep going. And then also too, when I was posted on the Shade Room, that was really big for me because, I just didn't realize that was going to be a thing. I did inspired outfits by I think it was like inspired outfits by like UPS, like the mail shipping stores. I did that one on the Shade Room, and then I did inspired outfits by airlines, and that one on the Shade Room as well. So I was posted twice in 1 year on the Shade Room. So I knew, yeah, you can't stop now. So I was getting reposted by these big blog platforms, and I'm like, obviously there's something that you guys really like, and and obviously when you get posted on these big platforms, you're getting tons of followers coming on your page because you're like,
Funnel.
it's a funnel, right? So I was like, okay, it's obviously clear that people really like this, so I'm gonna just keep going, and I just stuck with that same thing until now.
And like, what I wanted to do is like for yourself, because, and it's gonna tie to another question in a bit, but especially within like the male community, it's like, oh, fashion and styling, it's like never a focus. Like people don't teach us that we can focus on these things and learn so much from it.
Right.
So like for yourself, where did like your intrigue of like fashion and like styling, like where did you notice it starting?
Yes, my father. Yes, my father was the pinnacle to the brand. I would just see him wear like different clothing, different, colors, different fabrics. And I was like, Dad, like, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
And for me, when I first started, obviously in the fashion game, I still really like to dress up in color. It just wasn't as vibrant as I am now. And he just said, as a man, like, it's okay to look nice. It's okay to be, comfortable in your skin. It's okay to have color vibes, things like that. And I just kind of took that and just made it into a whole brand. Like, honestly, like, I started seeing the way he dressed, and then I kind of was inspired by that. And then after that, I just took it and ran with it, and it became a whole brand.
And what I like, and even how you mentioned how you experiment with different vibrant colors a lot. And I remember seeing some of the videos that you did that were very focused on like, I think it was one that was focused on food. But I remember you show the color palettes that you're going to use the videos, and I'm like, those colors are going to work together. And I think I'm like, and then I see it and I'm like, oh. And it made me start to be like, okay, I want to now level up the colors in my like wardrobe.
Right.
Because one thing I never forget it, and it was someone I was working with in the States when I was on tour, and they said, and it was me, I was standing beside like 2 or 3 other artists, and we're in, I want to say it was in Atlanta or Texas. And she said, you guys look like you're from Toronto. And I'm like, what is it? And she's like, all of you guys are wearing all black. Yep, that's a good way to call us out, because ciao. And I was like, ooh. Yeah, there's not yet enough color in my wardrobe. And then it works. And after seeing that, hearing that, I should say, seeing the videos that you posted from there as well, I was like, all right, this is how I can start things going. This is how this can work out. And yes, honestly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's so crazy because I even shock myself. So when I do these inspired outfits, it's not only like fun, but it really pushes my brain. Like, okay, like how am I going to do I don't know, a color from McDonald's out of a chicken sandwich? Like, how am I going to do that? Like, how am I going to do an outfit out of chicken nuggets? Like, you know what I mean? So it really it propels my mind to see, okay, how far I can go. And that's why I love a good challenge. So anytime someone's like, oh, like do this, I'm like, all right, now, all right, fine, let me figure it out. Right. So I think it's fun, but it also challenges my brain to see how creative I can go.
And it's like, it's okay because we do learn so much, okay, there's color theory with things. And at the same time, the beautiful thing with art, which styling is, and art of its own as well, is that you learn how to bend.
Right.
You learn how the rules can be bent and things can work out.
Right.
And I feel like from what you're saying, you kind of learned that through being pushed, being so like, okay, you guys want to see me do this? All right, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to do it.
Right.
So honestly, very appreciative, and
thank you.
We really showed with not just even just jackets, but all around accessories.
Thank you.
Just jackets, but all around accessories.
Thank you.
Like even right now today, how the hat works with the shirt, and the earrings, everything. Like, what would you say? And that's one thing actually I want to say before I get to the question. I noticed in the last, I'd say 5-8 years-ish, how accessories have really become more of a focus within the fashion industry. And again, it's really great. 3, if you were to just say, okay, I'm restarting my entire wardrobe. I can only take 3 accessories. What would you say are like the 3 most important accessories to you?
Oh my gosh, that's so easy for me. So the first one for sure would be a hat. So the hat that you're wearing, I feel like a top hat just really accentuates the look. Like you won't have on a top hat and then the look is an 8 out of 10 and then you put on the hat and now it's a 10 out of 10. So I think hats and toques do the job. Especially like when you don't have a haircut. Like I feel like it still does the job.
Yeah.
It does the job. And it doesn't really take away from your features. So I really love toques and hats. I think that's a good accessory. The second one is definitely glasses. I love me some shades, whether it's clear, whether it's sunglasses. I think glasses really do accentuate the look. Every time I go somewhere, everyone's always asking where I get these. Like I was like, oh my God, like I love this where you get it, right? It's just a little staple piece. And it's also good when you're tired because if your eyes are like red, it just takes away. So if I wear these a lot, it's because I'm tired. But today I'm not tired. I'm just giving you an example. Like if you're exhausted, wear the glasses because it just really still accentuates your look. And I think a third accessory would be a watch. So a watch as well. I love me a watch because again, a watch just brings that, it brings that look from a 9 to like a 10 or like a 7 to a 10. And it doesn't have to be a big watch either. But I think those three things are like three things that I just can't live without in terms of accessories and what I would default as pulling from scratch.
Like honestly, the two that I always knew and the shade that say, I was like, ooh, that's a very good point there.
Yeah.
And I've always liked shades. I was never good at buying shades. I felt like myself. And it is a big staple I find where one, it is a flex.
Yeah.
Being able to have time without having a phone.
Yeah.
Like it does when you're presenting yourself to people, have that extra bit for you.
Right.
The style and the look of it is such an extra great piece to have.
Exactly.
And the hat, it's a very easy, very great accessory to have. And
Yeah.
There's three things where if you had just to pick, like you said, three things,
Yeah.
those stand out very well in any room that you're in.
Exactly. Yep.
Like I've seen people, you can have like a simple shirt, simple pants, but if you got three good accessories, especially I notice how they're very upper body focused.
Right.
That's going to really help with, that's one of the first things people see. They look straight towards you first.
Exactly.
It really accentuates that.
Yeah.
And what I was wondering is because with everything that you've done
Yeah.
with fashion as well, right? Like with yourself,
Mhm.
you have seen yourself grow through these. Like you said, you've been doing social media for so long, but everything really picked up in the pandemic during 2020 where you started really pushing it more.
Exactly.
So in these like 4.5, 5 years, pretty much,
Right.
you have seen yourself and you've been through so much different things. And with growth that I like to focus a lot with, like my audience, it's the fact that as you grow, you're going to change. Your surroundings are going to change. The way that you view the world is all going to change.
Yep. That part.
For years, how was it for you when you first started having to accept that there's just relationships that are going to differ? Whether they, like, was it like you're going to cut people off, or was it just like, okay, we're just going to be friends in a different way? Did you end up having to have people who didn't understand that as well?
Yes. Okay. That's a really good question that you asked. Yes. So I noticed that when you are going through growth, when you're going through a transition in your life, people are not going to always be receptive to that. And some people, because they're still in the exact same spot, they look at you like you're going to be the exact same spot forever. And that's what I've noticed. But like, this was like from certain friends, like in the past or whatever that I had to like remove myself from. I felt like as I was growing, it was like, I'm not going to say they weren't growing, but it was like, as I was growing, they made it seem like I was trying to be better than them when I was just trying to better my own life. Right. And you're going to go through that. Like, especially when you want to be better. When you want to be better, you're going to see who wants to be around you when you want to be better and who doesn't want to be around you when you want to be better. You're going to see, because some people take it as a threat, like, oh, he thinks he's better than people now because he's doing bigger things or whatever. But it's not that I'm doing bigger things. I just want a better life. It's not about you. It's about me. It's about what I want for my future, what I want to do in the future at hand. So if you can't be supportive of that, then why are we
I can't do anything.
right? Like, why are we still in this like fickle of like trying to battle friendships? Like, if you can't support me in what I'm trying to do, then it doesn't make sense for us to be friends, because I am very supportive. I am a very supportive friend. You can ask all my friends that I have right now. I am very supportive. I support anything that they do. If they're going in or they're pivoting in a direction, I'm all for it. You don't see jealousy from me. I don't take it as a threat, because at the end of the day, people are supposed to grow. People are supposed to go through that. And I felt like there was a lot of people who just fell off in terms of like being friends with, because they just were threatened for no reason. Like it just shows, right? But I'm happy that I was shown that, because now I don't have to put up with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm around very secure and solid friends. And if you're not secure and solid within yourself, you're going to be very insecure about people who level up. Does that make sense? So I feel like in that aspect, like you have to be around people who are already secure within themselves in whatever position they're in. Because I was secure with myself, but I didn't have, you know, the income. I didn't have the car. I was a vampire. I was still very secure, right? So what does that look like for other people? You have to really bask in that. Are you secure even when you don't have things? Because I was, but are you, you know? So there should be no threats, if that makes sense. So.
And that's one thing I've had to learn is like, well, like one thing that I did realize is what we've noted, what we have with our initial friends from like high school or elementary, whatever it is, we, without even noticing it, we tend to limit ourselves.
Right.
And everyone in that circle tends to limit themselves because we want to keep this bond so much. We value this bond so much that we're willing to limit our own lives to keep these people in our life.
Right.
And we don't realize that not only are we harming these people, but we're harming ourselves.
Exactly.
And it doesn't make it any better when we start putting our own expectations for our lives on them as well.
Exactly.
We might end up being like, okay, like I want to be a big business. I want to make money. I want to do these things. But if I start getting mad at my other friend here now who doesn't want to do these things,
right?
What am I doing holding myself and hurting them now because I'm trying to force that on them?
Right.
And even vice versa. It's like, what are they doing if I'm trying to do these things for myself because I want to do this?
Right.
They're not understanding it.
Right.
We're really just putting these expectations on each other.
Right.
That we don't need to do.
Yep.
We have to learn how to live our life for ourselves, really.
Right. Makes sense.
So, hearing like your story and like seeing how you manage that, do you find, or not even so much do you find, but is there any relationship that you look at and maybe not so much regret, but you think about to this day almost?
No. Absolutely not. None.
Good.
Absolutely not. And I say no, absolutely not very, very loudly. Very, very loudly, because like that's not something I think about, because if we're not friends, we're just not friends. Like, I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to hold it against me. Yeah. Like, if we're not friends, we're not friends. Like, it doesn't bother me, because at the end of the day, maybe at the position that you were at or where we were, it just didn't align. And that's okay. And I feel like a lot of people also, they are not okay with moving on from friendships.
Yeah.
If you and that person like are maybe not aligned anymore, or if you're not in a position where you guys don't want to be friends anymore, it's okay to just let it go. You can let it go without any malice. You can let it go without any beef. You can let go.
And it's okay. It's okay. And it's like spiritually, it's one of those things where when we do, or we have to sometimes catch ourselves when we do harbor on some of these things. Yes. We are harboring on an old version of ourselves.
Exactly.
And sometimes we have to learn to accept and appreciate the new version of ourselves.
Exactly.
While we have it here. Because if we keep looking at the past, what we always tend to do is 5 years from now, we'll be like, man, I wish I appreciated this moment more.
Yes. And also even to add to that too, right? Like, I remember I used to be a person who was always like, oh my gosh, no new friends, like whatever. No. I want new friends. Yeah, I want new friends. Okay. All of the friends that I have, for the most part, like I would say like 30% are still from, my past. And I love them because we've all leveled up together. But like 70% of them are new. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, that is okay. Like, you want to be, and especially when you are growing as well, like you want to be around people who have the same mindset and who do kind of similar things as you. So you're going to end up eventually finding people that are like, doing the same things as you and that are new anyway. So I always encourage people, and this is for the audience as well, like find people that are in your circle, find new friends. It is okay to have new friends, and it's okay to, be with that, just because you've been friends with somebody for 16 years doesn't mean that they're your bestest. You know what I mean?
They have to always.
Yes. Like, you can meet somebody new along the way and they could be even the better friend. So, I mean, at this point, but yeah, I don't have any regrets. I wish all the people that I, used to be friends with the best, but the journey doesn't need to continue, and I think people just need to understand that the journey doesn't always need to continue. Wherever it's at, it could just stay there and you could just move on.
And like, because like you said, there was that bit of a phase where you're like, at first you thought yourself knowing new friends, and then you kind of started like accepting it.
Yeah.
Like, what was, because I think it's one of those things where learning to communicate with new people.
Right.
I don't think people realize like how much of a skill that is of its own.
It is.
So how is it for you, like molding yourself to the new version of you and meeting new people at the same time, trying to get yourself out of the older mentality and communicate with new people? Like, do you remember what that was like for yourself when you're in that shift there?
Yes. So I think for myself, I've always been a very like extroverty person. I would say extrovert and introvert. What do you call it? I think it's called an ambivert. Ambivert. Yeah, ambivert. Yeah, I'm kind of both, but I'm more on the extroverted side. I never really had problems like talking to people. I think I was a little bit shy, but it wasn't to the point where it's like I'm not talking to nobody in the room. I just feel like even though I didn't know how to start a conversation, I knew how to finish it. I was always an extrovert person. I was always a very genuine and positive guy, even till now. And I don't let, I guess you could say, like the followers or like the income or the new version of my am like change me. Yes, I've changed like my positioning, but like in terms of my like who I am, like genuinely, I'm still like the same person. And I think really having conversations with new people are great. Like, the people that I'm friends with now, I'm so glad I was able to have a conversation in the room because now we're closer than ever. And like, I have people around me that push me. And I think that's what you also need. And I feel like when you have like conversations with these people and you have communication situation with these people, you will start to see, oh, wow, like it really wasn't that bad. Like it really wasn't that bad, like being this person's friend, and you could really miss out on an opportunity if you just say this, like no new friends. You could really miss out on the things that God has stored for you. So that's why I removed that like no new friends mentality out. Yeah.
And like one thing I find that happens quite a bit is because I've been to quite a few like networking events within the city too.
Right.
And it's very common where it's like you could be somewhere and you find yourself like, okay, I'm not connecting with anyone in this room. And I could see people who I've got to a point where I can see people where I'm like, okay, I could tell you've been to quite a few of these.
Right.
And you're starting to almost lose faith, I guess, for lack of a better word, of being able to meet people you connect with.
Right.
Was there a point for you where it's like, for those who like, they feel like, okay, like I'm just not going to meet anyone who is on my frequency, essentially, right? Like, what would you say for those who are like, they're just not finding people on that frequency for themselves? Are they maybe going to the wrong events even, or things like that?
Yes. So I would say for that, trust the process. I think it's really important to trust the process, trust who you are, and trust who you know you're going to attract. I think before I started to get into this, like, being friends with people, you also need to understand that like you are the target market. I think a lot of people think like, oh, like because I don't have a lot of followers, like I'm a nobody, right? And you can't think like that. Once you're invited into a space with like multiple entrepreneurs, or once you're invited into a networking event, like you are the market. Like you were invited for a reason. So like know who you are and stand in that. You know what I mean? So look at it as a thing of like just knowing who you are, and not losing the faith. Like you're gonna find people along the way. You will find people along the way. You just have to really trust that version, and just do it. But yeah.
And like even for what you're saying, it speaks a lot even to me, honestly, because that was like what you just said with taking value within yourself. That was something that even for me took a lot, because I was very much always, for the longest time, and I'm still even myself today, like pushing that out of understanding like, okay, like I used to very much just be like, I'm not worthy of being in this room. I'm not worthy of the people that are in my life. I don't deserve these. I don't deserve anything here. And trying to learn that I'm not just a wasteful blob in this world, essentially, right?
Exactly.
And it very much is, sometimes you just gotta recognize that this is just a feeling, and you just gotta have the audacity. Yeah, let yourself have audacity just to do, and let someone else say it other than yourself, almost.
Yes, and I even to add to that, like the one thing about me that I really appreciate is like I'm me regardless of a celebrity in the room. Like things don't, like you being a celebrity or you having millions of dollars doesn't move me. It's your character. I've always been that way. I've always been a character-driven individual. So I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care what type of celebrity you are. And that's why I'm so like concrete in who I am. And like, I don't let anybody make me feel like I'm lower than. because obviously when I was in high school, I used to be bullied. People used to call me names and things like that. So, when I came out of high school, when I came out of college, like, my mom always said, like, Jalen, like, you're not better than and you're not less than. And that stuck with me for my entire journey until now. That's why when, if I'm getting invited to a celebrity event, I'll be like, I'm not going because I'm busy. Or I'm not going because I'm going to be at the gym. Like, that doesn't move me. Like, if I know that I don't need to be there, or if it's not that serious for me to be there, regardless of what people think, I'm not going, right? Do you know how many people will be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm going to go because the celebrity's in the building? Like, I know who I am if the celebrity's there or not, right? And I'm valuable because I was invited into the same room as the celebrity. So that's why it's very important to know who you are and value yourself more, because you were embedded into these spaces for a reason, right? If you guys are all in the same room, you're just as important. You're just as important as the next person. So,
I think is a big thing to take from what you're saying. I think people should get, and really what I think is the best way of what it is from what I'm hearing from you and how you approach events. It's not to chase opportunity, chase your growth, chase your value.
That part.
Because at the end of the day, when you chase opportunities, you chase being in certain rooms, you chase being around certain people that are probably not going to align with you, are probably going to make you feel like, I don't like what I'm doing, but maybe I have to do this. And you start putting yourself in this box where when you chase your growth, you're going to be in rooms and people are always going to see that growth. They're always going to see the value of what you know, what you've done, these kind of things.
Exactly.
Just appreciate you and what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think that to me is big, just knowing who you are, standing in it. You're exactly who you think you are. So own it. You're exactly who you think you are. So own it. Like, now is not the time to let people belittle you, because for so long, like, I was a black sheep, like, how's he gonna make money from fashion? Or how is he gonna do this? How's he gonna do that? And once I started to, like, know exactly who I thought I was, who I am, it all changed. Right? Like, I'm so confident in myself to the point where it's like, nothing really moves me. If your character is not in it, or if your character doesn't, like, speak to me, then we have nothing to talk about.
That's a saying that needs to be hung up on a wall, on a bathroom somewhere always. That's like, you are like, that is something I think everyone is like really should. As you said it, I'm like, that I think everyone should have on their wall, on something, and just like, you know what, you're exactly who you think you are. And if this is what you think you are, think of who you want to be at least. Yes. And be who you want to be, because that's what you're going to be that.
Yes.
And I feel like you being able to relate on such a level also helps you with your coaching. Yeah. Because you've done an amazing job. I know people who've taken your course as well for you. Learning how to be a content creator, learning how to do, I think, UGC, I'm saying the acronym correctly.
Yes, UGC. Yep, correct.
Like, learning these things, learning how to, like, market themselves. What do you find when you're doing these coaching sessions? Because, like I say, you are able to level with everyone in a great way and to have them learn. And people get inspired by it too, right here from your coaching lessons.
Right.
What are a couple of things that you think people are missing on, or like that you find that they're usually saying, hey, I need to work on this, and they want to have work done, whether it's a flaw or that they're doing, whatever it is, you see as a consistent thing people are working on when they're starting out doing content creation?
Yes, I think the biggest thing that people are having a problem with is it's the self-doubt. That is, I think, the biggest thing that I am working with my students right now, is removing the self-doubt. Like, a lot of people just have these big dreams and big goals, and nobody wants to, like, execute. Like, that's where we're at right now. Nobody wants to execute because people feel like, oh, like, my audience is not going to like it, or I'm not going to go in followers, or I'm not going to go in this, and I'm not going to go in that. And it's like, guys, like, how much longer are we going to do that? And I really talk to my students in more of, like, I would say blunt, but also, like, more of a concrete, stern way, because I feel like when you try to baby, like, whether it's your mentees or whatever, it's like, they're not going to get it. You got to, like, instill, like, well, if you don't do it, then you're going to be stuck in the exact same spot. So what are we going to do? Are we going to stay in the exact same spot, or are we just going to do it, right? And I feel like a lot of my mentees right now are really struggling with just self-doubt. Like, they have the idea, like, and they have great ideas. They're just not executing it. And when you're not executing it, it doesn't make sense, because nobody gets to see your beautiful work. Nobody gets to see your content. So if you're not putting out this content, or if you're not putting out, what you're dreamed of doing, then how is everybody else going to see this great content, right? So I think it's just a self-doubt and removing that from people. And I feel like, you know, understanding too, we weren't born with fear. We didn't, that wasn't instilled in us. Okay. If you put a snake by a baby right now, the baby's not going to cry. Yeah. You're just going to try to touch it, pat it, you know, the baby's going to touch it.
You got to be able to teach that. Right.
No, literally. Sorry. That's what the baby's going to do. So we weren't born with it.
Yeah.
Like it was just instilled just by the generation.
Yeah.
We see, you know, all these people with homes and cars and, you know, just different things, vanity. And we get so discouraged because we're like, oh my gosh, like I would love to be in that position, or I would love to be here, but I'm just so afraid, or like I'm fearful of what people are going to say. And it's like, the thing about it is people are always going to talk about you. I go through that every day in the comments. I go through that often. The thing about it is like you also, they're in your world. So you could choose to do things like block them. You can choose, you know what I mean? So I say this to say, yes, having a little fear is great, because having a little bit of it and doing something and executing, that's fine. But when you're having so much fear to the point where you don't want to execute your work at all, we got to work on that. You know, we are now in 2025. Now it's time to just do. If you're gonna be scared, do it scared. Like that's my thing. Just do it scared. You know, do it unapologetically. You do it nervous. You know, do it with anxiety. Do it. You know, that's where I'm at.
Only I've had to, like, that's a big thing where I have to learn myself, where it's like we get so scared to do, because like I said, the perception, all these fears like hit us. And what I've had to learn is social media, it's like a soup almost. And if you have all these ideas, sometimes just do that, throw it in the pot, and let someone name the soup. Right. Eventually, there's going to be the one that sticks out. And even though you put corn, potato, this, that, the soup, it's going to end up being called goat soup, chicken soup, vegetable soup, tomato soup. So you just put all the ingredients in, and eventually someone's going to be like, oh, this is what I see for you. And then you just able to do.
Yeah.
I feel like we're not thinking of that, because sometimes people say we have some people that let us think like, oh no, like if you're doing this, do this one thing, only do that. Don't venture out. But we're humans. We enjoy figuring things out. We can't learn unless we fail, essentially.
Exactly.
And we have to give ourselves that space as well to kind of just fail.
Yeah.
Just do that part. So like, is there also things where it's like, okay, when you're doing these things, like not even just for maybe like your own, the people that you work with.
Yeah.
In general, the people, like when you see your stuff and you have to learn marketing, how you ended up learning it, how you came about and realized like, oh, okay, I have an eye for this. And I see where people can learn and do better in these kind of ways. How did its own journey come for you?
Yeah. So for me, the reason why I started coaching is, well, first of all, coaching was a fluke. Let's start there. Coaching was literally a fluke. I did not know that I was going to be this like big marketing mentor. I had no idea. I just started like getting on live like while like, you know, back in 2020, and just started going on Instagram telling people about how to post and how to, you know, post your content and posting times and things like that. And people ended up liking it. So they're like, Jenna, you need to put out a course. I'm like, okay, wow. Like maybe I should put out a course. Right. And then from there, the rest is history. But the reason why I am where I'm at in terms of marketing is because when I was trying to like grow and level up, I didn't have people say, oh, Jalen, like, this is how you do it, or, oh, Jalen, like, this is how you do it. There was only one person, and I have to shout her. Her name is Carla, and she did like a whole like boot camp, and she's like a marketing guru. That's like my bestie. Shout out to Carla. And Carla was doing this like boot camp for just, you know, marketing mentors, and she just wanted to get people on board with that, like, you know, a lot of girls, and it was like an all girls boot camp. So I had to message her. I'm like, you know, I see you doing an all girls boot camp, but can I just, you know, slide my way in? Can I just? I know I'm a boy, but let me just smile in there, right? And she was like, "Oh my gosh, no problem, come." And then I ended up learning so much, and then I ended up being a teacher in her program, and then that's how I got the sauce. But she was like the only one that like helped me with that. But for the most part, like I had to like learn on my own. Like I had to figure out like, okay, how do I do this, until she came along and helped me with that. And then I said, when I get to a place where I know, I'm going to help other people, because I don't want people to have to struggle and figure it out like on their own. I want to be the pillar and the anchor to help you guys get there. So that's what I would say. My journey figuring it out wasn't so bad. I would just watch videos. I would even go based off my own experience. And then from there, I just kind of like put it in my coaching programs and put it in my courses. And yeah, it's working. Like everybody loves it. People are vibing to it. They're getting lots of testimonials from it. And I think the best way about being a mentor is adding your experience into your programs, like not finding it from another coach. Like, what did you do to, get the sauce or move people in forward? And I think that's why people really like the program so much.
And honestly, it's a big thing where like experience is the best teacher.
It is.
Like there's so much like you're gonna learn from like school or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
literally having that experience because you didn't have to go to college, university, I imagine, for like business marketing.
No, so it's so crazy. So I actually went to college first. I did like a 2-year program. Forgot what the program was called. That's how long it was ago. But I did a 2-year program in there, and then I went to university. I actually graduated with university. I actually do have an English degree. I do have an English degree.
Wait, was it for like marketing as well? Or?
No, I went for English.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I went for an English major, and I got a degree in that.
Yeah.
So I still have my degree, but it's just collecting dust. Yeah. However, I would say that the English degree has helped me because I'm really good with talking. I'm really good with talking. I know how to write a paragraph. I know how to write an essay. Like, I know how to do all those things. So it helped in that aspect. But I didn't take marketing at all. I just knew how to speak. And then from there, a full circle moment now. Because I wanted to be a teacher, which is funny. An English teacher. But then I said, no. And then after that, full circle moment, now I'm teaching like people social media. So like, it always aligns in some way. But that's what I would say.
And with that, I also wanted to, first of all, I could see, I'm not like, I hear you and I can hear your voice and I'm like, oh, I can see a teacher here. And I feel like,
yeah,
I can see where that comes in.
Yeah.
What I wondered too is, because you're also very like, you're very strong and you're very out there with your faith, right?
Yes.
Like, thank God, bless you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And one thing I find for a lot of people, it's finding as well circles for themselves and finding the spaces to be open, because one thing I appreciated so much seeing you as well is myself being someone who also has very strong in their faith and wanted to just be out there with people. And it's like, guys, trust me as a person before you judge me, and like just going off of what you see of my faith, everything.
Right.
Have you experienced that for yourself? And how was it for yourself to really be like, okay, guys, like I am Christian, like this is a part of me too.
I feel like with that, it's so interesting because I feel like it just kind of rolled off the tongue. Like I literally just started like talking about my faith. I'll get online and talk about God. I'll put up devotionals on my story. And I just don't see any shame in it. Like I don't see any shame in being who you are and being a Christian and being like somebody who's a lover of Jesus. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I think people just get so, because they obviously don't know people's religions and things like that. But I just personally feel like with me, the reason why I put God on the forefront is because I just honestly think that anything that I've done and anything that I continue to do, it's literally the Lord. Like it's literally the Lord. Like, yes, I work extremely hard, but I just feel like God has never forsaken me in any situation. Like I've always been able to do what I needed to do. I've always been able to be resilient and move past things that were hard to move past. You know what I mean? Like whether if it was a bad breakup or whether, my account was in the negatives or whether I got into a car accident, whatever that looked like, I just felt like he's always seen me through.
And that actually ties to what I was going to ask next here.
Yeah.
And is it because like even myself, like being someone, for myself, I'm Muslim, but there's so much, even with being Muslim in Islam, there's so much like influence within Christianity. It even says like, like the Bible came first.
Yeah.
Quran, the Torah came before that, and like take from these as well, right? And there's so much that I feel like there can be from there as well. But
Right.
one thing that I was with, because I also grew up with my very Christian household. Right. One thing that sticks to me to this day is how God works in mysterious ways. And there's things that come in your life where it's just like, when you start realizing and thinking, it's like, that's why this is happening. God, I see you.
Yeah.
What was like the most recent or the most notable story you could think of right now where you were just like, okay, I see you, God?
I think, okay, so recently, well, last month, I hit a big milestone in my income. Big milestone. I've never reached that in so long. I usually do 5-figure months. Like that's like a normal thing for me. But I recently hit this like big milestone in January, like huge milestone. And I had that number on my wall for like 7 months, I think, like 7 months. Like it was a while. And I would walk past the number and I'd be like, I need to do this type of month. I need to do this type of month. I need to do this type of month. And I hit it last month. I hit it.
You're just looking at it like, hold on. This number is too similar to that. Right?
So I hit it. And the reason why God works in, like amazing ways is because like the number that was on my wall, I ended up surpassing that number in the revenue in January. So when I seen that number on my wall, I was like, no, like I said big, but God said bigger, and I feel like sometimes we miss that. It's crazy when you can look at something and you're like, okay, no, I want this. And the guy said, no, you need this. Like, this is what you're going to get, right? Like, dream bigger.
I was like, okay, you wanted this, but I gave you this.
Yeah, plus more.
But I'm going to tell you can do this.
Right, and that's what it was, right? So, I think that was a really, like, moment for me, because it was a good moment because it realized, and it was a number that I thought that was so impossible to hit, And when you work hard and you really pray and you really say, I got this, even through the days where you feel like you don't, it works in your favor. And also it reminded me that things take time, right? Things do take time. I wanted to hit that number so long for like 8 months, 9 months, and just didn't hit it. But I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I hate like what's happening, right? I just started to get real serious and locked in, and we surpassed that number that was on the wall. And when I seen that, I was like, okay, God, I heard you. I said, heard you. I was like, heard you. And that was probably one of my biggest accomplishments. And then also getting my new car. That was something I've been looking at on my vision board for over a year and a half. So me getting my car was another milestone, because I was like, I want to get my car in 2025. Like, and I had it on my vision board from last year to get it in 2024. And then I just didn't think I was going to get it. And then I got it right in the new year. Like, it was like, so it was like 2 goals back to back. It was like the revenue in the 1 month, and then the new car. It was like, okay, all right. So like a lot is happening and happening fairly quickly,
And
but
you pray for this, you put this out there. Yeah, it's something you're like, this is happening. And okay. Here.
Yes.
This is what I'm showing you is possible now. And
yes,
it's interesting because it's so much of like, you're able to look at these things happening and these goals hit. And like you said, you're looked as like a black sheep of like, how are you going to make money doing it? Sure, it's going to come out. And look, this is where
we are. And I feel like it's so crazy, because when I was a black sheep, it was like people don't really believe in you when you're, and that's one thing I want to say to your audience too. People will not believe in you when you're first starting out. They're not. And they're not going to believe in what you do. Like, only there's going to be like a percentage of people that believe in what you do, like right now.
Yes.
But as a whole, people are not going to believe you because they just feel like they're projecting, right? And that's how it is. Like, they're usually projecting. And no matter who doesn't believe what you do, still do it anyway. Yeah. Because so many people are like, oh my God, Jillian, you're not going to sustain your life from fashion. And like, look, like there's a lot of things I was able to sustain my career. I have a great career. I make great income off of just fashion, off of marketing, off of coaching. Like, and I've been able to just stay real focused, even when people have said, oh, you can't, or this won't do well for you or whatever. And that's what it comes down to. They laugh now, but they want to join you later. That's how it works. They laugh now, but they join you later. All right.
Biggest saying I still try to remind myself to this day. I was told once, it's see it before you see it.
Yep.
So when you see it, you see it.
Yep.
Because no one else is going to see it but you.
Exactly.
No one can see your future but you. Yep. Right.
Yep.
And we lose that so much because we have some people that are saying like, oh, I don't think that's going to work. You should do this. You should do that. We try to be open-minded. We try to hear what people are saying. We believe like, okay, I don't want to be ignorant, but sometimes you got to be stiff. You got to be sturdy to what you believe.
Yes. And also with that too, guys, trust your own ideas. Let me repeat that one more time. Trust your own ideas and trust your own opinions. I feel like we're always looking at, okay, let me get an opinion. And I'm not saying that opinions are wrong. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is I'd rather you ask 1 or 2 people than ask 10. Like try to keep it very in the knit circle. You know what I mean? And some things you just have to do on your own. Like when I was going to go get this car or what I was going to do, I just said, I'm going to D-Shop, I'm going to go do it.
And it's like you have to realize sometimes when you're asking out of insecurity versus asking out of getting that extra opinion because you literally need to figure things out a little bit more. And
Yeah.
it is true. Sometimes we're like, I don't know if I should do this. Maybe I should do this. I don't know how to do. Yes. And we're asking someone, but it's us sometimes not trusting that instinctual goal, that instinctual vision that we had for ourselves. That understanding, okay, this is possible. I need to do this so people could see what's happening. That's versus, okay, this is the idea I have.
Right.
There's just certain things I can't see of how to execute it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a few people to figure that part out.
Yeah. And I think that's where that comes down to. Like, I've just learned to trust my own opinions, like, and my own ideas, because when you're trying to ask too much for different opinions, like, people can steer you in the wrong direction. And sometimes that's not good. Yeah. So I feel like as much as some people will steer you in the right direction, some people will steer you in the wrong direction. Yes. And I think by limiting the amount of people that are in your ear about whatever you have going on will just make it better. And also too, like, the signs are from God. Just hear him. Like, hear him. You know what I mean? Like, he will tell you. He will tell you. He will give you a sign. Be like, okay, you know what? Do this or go with it, or he will tell you. You know what I mean? And we just have to trust the Holy Spirit a lot more. We have to trust, our instincts more. But I think if a lot of people really just trust their own ideas and their own opinions more, they would be a little bit more further. Because remember, especially when you're asking an opinion from somebody who already is not like, they're like down bad in life, or like they're not just in a space where they want to see you grow because they're not grown, they're going to tell you what, they feel like, oh, well, I don't think you should get this because you're not going to be able to afford it, or you're not going to be able to do it, or it's not going to make sense for you. No, the reason why you're saying that is because it doesn't make sense for you. Right? And that's why you're projecting. You know what I mean? People project their opinions. So you have to be very careful with the things that you want to tell people, or the ideas or the dreams or goals that you do have, because people will steer you in the wrong direction.
Big facts right there. And I just want to say again, before we go, thank you so much today.
Yes.
And I suggest everyone, I'm going to have the links below as well for his coaching, his courses, his social media. Please definitely follow him. You're going to learn so much literally just from following him on Instagram. And yeah, like I said, this is amazing. I feel like we got so much out, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Today was really, really great, guys. Yeah, believe in yourself and trust your own, intuitions, and understand that life may not work out the way you want it all the time, but life will work out the way you need it to. So that part, just keep going, keep going, don't give up, and keep going even when it doesn't make sense.
Yes. And again, like, comment, subscribe, share this video to someone that you feel like needs to hear it. Remember, your life matters. With breath, there's always life. Hope you have a great rest of your day.